So here we are again, and it's the 20th of July 2025, and I'm just making a little video, as I have been, of my poetry collections, just talking about the meaning behind them, where I was at the time in my life when I wrote them. And this one is about Smiles, which is a poetry collection which I wrote in, let me just have a little look, my computer can catch up. It's a super fast computer, but it needs some more memory. So Smiles was 2021, and I think I started writing it at the end of 2020, but I think I put copyright 2021 on it. Let me just go down to the page here in the complete works where I've written those poems. Here we go. And so I think at the time I wrote this, I had broken up with Julia, or we were in an off phase, because it was a bit on off over a couple of years. And I, unable to find work in London, and having been over to Russia on a business visa for a while and staying with Julia's family, I had returned to my mother's house to care for her a bit. She was getting less able as she got older, and I was just doing basic stuff, really, doing the shopping and a bit of cleaning and helping her make the bed and doing DIY type of stuff, fixing the shed roof, you know, that sort of thing. So I was living there for quite a while, and I had decided to write my next poetry collection about Smiles, and to call it Smiles. And the idea was to write 30 poems in 30 days about smiles. So 30 smiles in 30 days. So I was setting myself a real challenge there, because that is a very short period of time to write poetry. Although some poets can chuck out 3 or 4 a day, and I have been known to do that, and good poems as well. But generally speaking, if you're knocking out 1 a day regularly, then you're doing extremely well, and I'd say 1 or 2 a week is more likely to be the norm. There is a lot of work that goes into writing a poem. And so I'd set this challenge, and with hindsight, it was a bit of a departure for me from my attempt at what I called in my last video the psychogeography of phenomenological ontology, which is a really long and awful phrase, but it exactly captures the focus of my poetry and how it's been for the last few decades, last couple of decades. So I think the fact that it was a departure from that meant that I ran out of steam very quickly and did not achieve this, which is really unusual for me, because normally I'd set out what I achieve what I set out to do, and I ended up with, as I looked back at it yesterday, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 poems, which is not a great deal, so I didn't get very far. So this falls into the category of a mini collection, very similar in size to Causeway Giants Causeway, which was going to be called Causeway Giants, and really this is just 5 poems about different types of smile. The thing is, I struggled with inspiration, because actually to come up with 30 different types of smile to write about is is quite challenging, and you need some sort of muse or inspiration for each one, and that inspiration doesn't come to you every day. Yeah, I don't really have a lot to say about this. It's not a bad collection. The poems are okay, but I don't particularly like it because it was a departure from my normal focus. What my work in poetry is about. Into the Forced Mile. The Forced Mile, obviously it's a bit of a play on words, some of these titles. So, Forced Mile is obviously a forced smile. And I mentioned the long distance minute of run through the storm's treat, on through a road into the forced mile. And that's really a homage to the poem If by Rudyard Kipling, where he mentions if you can turn the unforgiving minute into sprint of distance run or something. I can't remember what it is now, but I'm sure a lot of people will know this poem. It's a very famous poem that appeared in a Guinness advert years ago, and a lot of people cite this as their favourite poem. And it ends, "You'll be a man, my son." The idea being, if you do this, if you do that, if you do the other, then you'll be a man. Tree Line. Well, I don't remember this poem at all. I mean, I don't remember any of these. I do have a problem with amnesia. I'm going to explain while I'm here because I don't have much to talk about in the poetry. That I've had a number of incidents during my life, conditions, events that have caused problems, various difficulties, challenges to overcome. Some of them persistent for over many years. When I was 13 or so, I fell off my bike. I went over the handlebars after the chain snagged, going at high speed on the pavement, and I landed on my head up here, top left. Had a bump for years and years and years, and then it suddenly sort of seemed to diminish. You can still see it there. Do you see that little ridge? And there isn't one on that side. A little bump, you can just see it on the outline of my head when I tilt my head there. See that? Just there. And I think from then, because it's been as long as I can remember, I've had certain memory problems. One of them is with names. So I really struggle, and it takes me a very long time to put names to faces. And as a workaround, I stopped using people's names, which then caused a bit of a sort of difficulty with bonding with people, because actually, socially, people bond a lot quicker and at all, sometimes only if you use their name. It's a really strange thing, but that is my experience of it. I'm not saying there's any research about it, nothing proven, but that's my life experience. And I still have that problem to this day. I recently started, just under a year ago, started volunteering at a dementia group for Remind, part of Silent Mind, and there are between 25 and 30 clients that we have, and I spent months trying to learn their names, and I still only have probably 50 to 70% of them, maybe 50 to 2/3 of them, and the others, as I had to explain to my supervisor, I probably will never get, or probably never be able to learn them, because it's just a deficit that I've had for as long as I can remember, and I think it was caused by that head injury, where I had concussion for 3 weeks and was off school. Went back to school, which was enforced, and I wasn't really well, and just remember feeling very, very confused. I was looking at the timetable and I just couldn't understand it, and I didn't know where the rooms were, I didn't understand who the teachers were. All the kids rushing around knowing where they're going, and I was just stood there lost looking at my timetable. There was no support for head injuries back then, even for kids. No real treatment. They used to suggest bed rest, so I spent 3 weeks in bed, and now they say that is not the correct course of action. The correct treatment is 2 days in bed, 24 hours to 48 hours, I think, and then a specifically designed physical activity schedule, which rebuilds your neural connections that have been damaged by employing motor skills. So you don't go off running or on the treadmill or rowing or anything, but you do motions and movements and that sort of thing, I think. And that's supposed to recover the majority of head injuries to about 80 or 90% of former function, executive function, cognitive function, within a month, 3 weeks to a month apparently. So anyway, I'm not sure where I was going with all this. Oh yeah, so the other thing that I've always struggled with is years, dates. Always a problem for me. I was quite good at remembering family birthdays for some reason, but other dates I struggled with. I struggled with doing my master's degree because I could remember the author but not the date of the journal papers and the books. Not the year. And I have an amnesia issue. So these are called persistent concussion symptoms, PCS. Self-diagnosed by me because I've never had any bloody help with any of it. Although Headway charity have been useful in a couple of ways, and I'm hoping to work with them more. And the amnesia is a bit like I struggle to remember what I ate yesterday, or sometimes what I did yesterday, or even this morning. I can't remember events very well, so my ex-wife used to talk about when we met a certain couple or whatever, and she said, oh, it was at whatever event, somebody's birthday, and it was 3 years ago in the summer, and these people were there, those people were there, and they talked about this, and they were wearing that, and I just have none of that information. It just isn't there. And it's more than just a bloke thing, I assure you. So, so I have a sort of persistent amnesia problem. Doesn't mean that I forget what I've done or what I've said, but I do sometimes make mistakes, factual mistakes about things. And all of these memory effects have got worse, definitely in the last year or so as I approach 50. So I'm not sure why that is. Either I've got early onset condition of some kind, or it's just as age comes on, these things do get worse. I don't know. So what was the point to all that? I've completely forgotten. Oh yes, I was talking about forgetting poems. So the other thing is I could never remember song lyrics. So I used to play guitar and sing, and I wrote songs, and latterly those songs became poems. I started writing poems instead of songs. But I could never perform live because I couldn't remember the lyrics. I cannot remember the lyrics to a single song, and as long as I can remember, I haven't been able to, and I think it's since that bike accident. So, Tree Line and Forced Mile, I don't remember either of these poems at all. Autumnal Drapery. Sometimes I can recall what I was writing about or what inspired me when I read through the poem, but not always. So as I finish this video, as always, if there's a particular poem that you like and you'd like to know the origins of it or what it was about, I would be happy to try to remember that for you. In some cases I will remember, in other cases I'll need to remind myself somehow. but I'll do my best. So put something in the comments if you'd like to know more. Thank you very much for listening. Bye bye.